Let's take a moment's pause here in order to look at some of your past history. Darren, I've said you're an investment advisor. You also enjoy playing poker, don't you?
That's right, yep.
So you've got what's described as a good poker face.
Yeah, I think so.
I know that you actually enjoy paintballing as well, don't you?
Yeah, that's right.
And you were in the Territorial Army.
Correct.
And you were given a flak jacket in the Territorial Army, which you wear underneath your paintballing outfit so that the actual paintballs bounce off without exploding.
That's a very useful piece of information, you know, Nigel.
Yes. And you've won many games at that by cheating, Darren, haven't you?
Yes, that's right.
So, is he cheating you today? Is Darren the enemy? Carolyn, you tell men that you're a nightclub dancer in order to attract them, don't you?
I used to, yes.
It was a lie, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
And on going to a friend's wedding, you bought yourself an outfit, wore it for the wedding, and took it back to the shop and got your money back.
Yes.
Danny, you went to a rival's school with a bunch of mates and decided to moon at the school, didn't you? Unfortunately, the bell rang and 800 people came out of that school and saw your bottom, Danny, didn't they?
Yeah.
You've also said, Danny, and I quote you, "All my lies are successful and achieve their aims."
Yeah.
Claire, you've got a whole catalogue of lies. You're a primary school teacher. You've told your children that you went out with Eminem.
I did.
On New Year's Eve, you went to a club and told the bouncer there that you were from All Saints.
A group like that, yes.
Is Claire the enemy? David Weller, I can find no stories on you whatsoever.
I've paid my friends well.
Either that, or you have always covered your tracks and never been caught out. Will you be caught out today, David?
There's nothing to catch.
We'll now move on to our final round, and this is a chance for you all to dramatically increase your cash totals. The first question will be worth £100. Anybody can buzz in and accept it. If you get it right, then the prize money for the next question goes up by £25. However, the questions will not be offered across. In a moment, I'm going to be asking you the most vitally important question of today. Who is the enemy? You must give me your answer at the end of this, our final round. For £100, in the Bible, who fed the 5,000? David.
Jesus.
He did indeed. For £125, which racecourse is the venue for the Grand National? Carolyn.
Aintree.
Correct. For £150, who wrote Brighton Rock? Graham Greene. Still for £150, sockeye is a variety of which tin fish? Darren.
Salmon.
Correct. For £175, in politics, which party leader is known as IDS? Darren.
Ian Duncan Smith.
Correct. For £200, clavicle is the medical term for which bone in the human body? Darren.
That's the chest bone.
No, it's the collarbone. Still for £200, in EastEnders, which iron-wielding character shares her nickname with a 1950s tennis star? Darren.
Is that Little Mo?
It is Little Mo. For £225, in Lonely Hearts ads, what do the initials WLTM stand for? Carolyn.
Would like to meet.
Indeed. £250, brimful of what? Carolyn.
Asher.
A brimful of Asher took Corner Shop to the top of the UK singles charts was the question. You are right. For £275, by what name were the German submarines of World War II?
They were U-boats.
They were U-boats. Well, that's the end of our final round, and our phone lines are now closed. Here are your final cash totals. Claire, you have £175. Danny, you have £225. David, you have £225. Carolyn, you have £975. And Darren, you have £1,425, which means that Darren is today's winner. However, this might be the closest any of you get to that money, because it can still be stolen from you. The enemy is still within. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to nominate who you think is the cheat, and you must agree by a majority. If you give me a split decision, then the audience's vote will be decisive whether you agree with it or not. It's now time for the audience vote. So, audience, who is the enemy? At this stage, our audience's vote will only be seen by our viewers at home. You've now had time to think, but what has the enemy's strategy been? Darren has never been frightened to answer the questions. Claire sat behind. Maybe she's not answered as many questions as you would have thought she should have done. David didn't know as much about geography as we thought he should have done. Danny didn't answer that many questions. Carolyn burst forth in that final round. You now have to make your decisions, and it could cost you everything if you get it wrong. Darren, who is the enemy?
Definitely David.
Carolyn, who is the enemy?
Danny.
Danny, who is the enemy?
It's Darren.
Claire, who is the enemy?
Carolyn.
David, who is the enemy?
It's Darren.
We have a majority decision. Both Danny and David point the finger at you, Darren. But are they right? Will the real enemy now stand up? David, congratulations. You've outwitted, well, at least 3 of your fellow contestants. Please take a seat, because I think Darren spotted you. What I'm amazed at, David, is I said to you right at the beginning of the show, you've never been caught out in anything, and you weren't caught out today. Consequently, you're going to go home with everybody else's money, which is £3,025. Well done. Well, that's all for now. Today's cheat, David got away scot-free. Even our audience thought it was Claire, but hopefully 5 of you out there spotted him, and you can pick up that £200. But it does prove that good cheats can prosper on the enemy within. See you next time, and remember, keep your friends close, keep your enemies even closer.
Catch more of The Enemy Within every weekday starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, only on BBC America. Up next, Cash in the Attic.